How many of us have heard you can't love somebody else until you love yourself? First of all, what the hell does that even mean? Why can't you? And secondly, and in some ways even more important, do you love yourself? Do you love yourself in the squirrely hour of 3 in the morning when you can't go to sleep and you're rehearsing everything you're nervous about or everything you could have done better? Do you love yourself when you make a mistake? Do you love yourself when you're bad, indulgent, selfish, cruel? When you hurt someone? Do you love yourself then? Most of us don't. How many of us listening give ourselves a hard time when we don't meet our own standards? Right? Like 95% of us. That's terrible. It's unnecessary. I'm Terry Real, the creator of the Relational Life Institute, and let me tell you something. As those of you who know my story from my books know, I grew up in a violent family. I grew up with a depressed, violent father. He was the son of a depressed, violent father. I struggled with depression for decades. And depression is really a self-esteem disorder. It's shame. Depression, I wrote in my first book on male depression. I don't want to talk about it. If you held a stethoscope up to the psyche of a depressed person, man, woman, non-binary person, but what you would hear is a part of the person beating the crap out of another part of the person, their vulnerability. Shame is violent. Shame is contempt. You're not good enough. So there's a lot of ink been spilled on healthy self-esteem, and in our culture, almost all of it is wrong. I owe my vision to the great mentor Pia Mellody, who herself came from a particular time and place in 12-step recovery. John Bradshaw, at the birth of Al-Anon. Self-esteem. What does the word mean? It literally means to esteem yourself, to hold yourself warmly. But let's be clear, to hold yourself warmly as you are, not as you think you are, not as you should be, but as you are. Warts and moles. Being perfectly imperfect is the word we use in relational living. I'm perfectly imperfect, and so are you. I'm a human being. I don't want to be an angel. I don't want to be married to an angel. Sounds good on paper, but I think it would be really boring. It's our humanity, our vulnerability, our flaws that make us who we are and how we manage those flaws. So self-esteem, it is not competence. It's not pride. It's not mastery. The state of California got that wrong. Back in the 70s, they launched a self-esteem initiative, well-meaning, but what they did is try to get kids to do things well and have confidence. Well, that's great, but that's not self-esteem. If you do something well and have confidence, how do you feel about yourself if you do it badly? There's a great old movie with Steve Martin called Parenting, and his doofy kid is out in the outfield. This kid's a total loser. And it's like ninth inning, top of, at the bottom of the 2 outs, and the ball goes out to this poor kid in the outfield. He kind of doesn't even look, but holds his hand up. And God bless, the ball drops right into his glove. And Steve Martin does this ecstatic dance that every parent can relate to. And that's the feel-good end of the movie. Well, that's great if the kid catches the ball. How does the kid feel if he drops the ball? That is not healthy self-esteem. It's pride in your performance, which has its place, but don't get them mixed up. Here is the extraordinary, liberating news. Self-esteem, your worth, your dignity, your lovability as a human being comes from the inside out. It is your birthright. You are born with it. You are worthy and dignified as a human being because you're here and you're on this goddamn planet. You're breathing. Your worth and dignity is no better or no less than the person to the left or to the right of you. It cannot be. That is a lie. In my latest book, Us, I call it the great lie that Western civilization runs on. The great lie that a human being or group or race could be intrinsically superior or inferior to another human being. Your essential worth, dignity, lovability, rights are yours from the inside out. You don't have to earn it. You can't add to it. You can't subtract from it. You can be a bum out on the street. You can be Mahatma Gandhi. Your essential worth is the same. We call it same as, eyeball to eyeball, neither better than nor worse than. And of course, unhealthy self-esteem looks like shame, inferiority, defectiveness, unlovability. And for 50 years, self-help and psychotherapy has helped people come up from that terrible feeling of inferiority. We've done a terrible job until relational life work of helping people come down from what I call the other self-esteem disorder, grandiosity, superiority, looking down your nose at either a person or the rules. That's called entitlement. Health is in the middle, neither better than nor less than, neither above the law nor not entitled to the law. I have worth just like you. There's an old Irish proverb, no matter how high or great the throne, what sits on it is the same as your own. The great jazz musician Ray Charles lived a very modest life at the end of his life. And I remember an interview said to him, you only have a modest wardrobe, a few pairs of pants, a few shirts. He said, well, I just put on my pants one leg at a time. I'm no better or worse than it. We know this in principle. It's the bulwark of democracy, one person, one vote. Each voice is equal. It's the principle of medical ethics, triage, based on need, not status. But we don't live like that in our adult life. Better, worse, all the time. Judging, being judged. And we use outside in self-esteem. Performance-based esteem. I have worth because of what I can do, which becomes workaholism. This is big for men. Everything becomes a performance. I have worth because I can give my wife an orgasm. I have worth because I can hit the ball. I have worth because I can close the deal. Well, what happens when you don't? When people talk about the fragile male ego, that's an understanding that basing your worth on your performance is really flimsy. What women don't understand about men is men are haunted by someone younger, faster, smarter, warming up in the bullpen, ready to eat your lunch. Performance-based esteem, very shaky basis for your sense of worth. Love addiction is run by other-based esteem. I have worth because you think I do. And of course, this is big for women, quote unquote, codependents in intimate relationships, but men too, in terms of their colleagues. I have worth because my colleagues think I'm wonderful. I don't have a sense of worth, but if you do, I can. And then attribute-based esteem, which the whole advertise, buy this car and be a person of distinction, and be the most interesting man in the world. No, I have worth because I'm here. It's no better or worse than anybody else. And I don't look down my nose at you. Grounded in my own imperfection, feeling bad about bad behavior and still holding myself in warm regard as a good if flawed person. That's the ticket. Feel proportionately bad about bad things I've done. I want you to feel bad. That's called remorse. But you don't beat yourself up. I'm sorry I did that. Let me go out to the person I hurt. What can I do for you? Beating myself up is no favor to anybody. Bad about the bad behavior, still good about myself as a flawed human being. Bad about your bad behavior, but can still hold you in warm regard as a flawed human being. No better, no less than me. W.H. Auden. I will love my crooked neighbor with my crooked heart. Come here, brother. Come here, sister. I'm just as imperfect as you are. That's freedom. Thanks for listening.